Morning, everybody. This is Thunder. I'm not doing a live stream today because I'm going to mix it up. I'm not finding that the live streams work all that well sometimes, and I think that YouTube messes with them. I noticed when I was doing my last video or doing my last live stream, parts were missing. In other words, I'd get to a part where I'd say a specific word and all of a sudden there's like a splice in the stream, and they keep messing with it, and they're probably going to keep messing with everything because they're censoring everything now. They're trying to, if they don't do it outright by taking down your channel or whatever they think they need to do, then they do it by screwing around with your video or screwing around with your live stream. I think that what's on my mind today is I'm watching some of these channels, and a lot of people like Roy Potter and other people, and I like their style, I really do, because I think they really care about what's happening with the people and what's happening with this country, but I think they're missing the point. And the point is, and a lot of them say this over and over, they keep getting angry because Trump's not doing this or doing that. Trump needs to do this. Trump needs to do that. Trump needs to attack the deep state. Trump needs to make arrests. Trump needs to quit antagonizing Russia. Trump needs to, and they keep going on and on ad nauseum about this stuff. Trump is not going to do shit. I got news for you. And I'm really sick of people putting their faith and sitting around on their asses while waiting for Trump to do something about the deep state, or what we call tyranny. So you can't wait for Trump. So I'm looking at different things, and this is Memorial Day weekend, and I was thinking about all the fallen soldiers in different wars. I think the last war that probably had any kind of credence at all as far as modern day would be World War II, and I really honor those vets, and I honor all vets. But the vets nowadays, or let's say the soldiers nowadays, are going to foreign countries, okay, and they're fighting wars. They're in all kinds of places around the globe. And they're supposedly fighting for democracy, or allowing democracy to take place in all of these different countries, when in fact, that's not what they're fighting for. And a lot of vets, or a lot of people that come back that have fought in wars, are starting to realize that that this is true, that they're not really fighting for our country, they're fighting for global interests, they're fighting for geopolitical chess by people that are in power, that want to use them as pawns to complete their agenda of greed, avarice, hegemony, all the things that they have in their mind that they think they want. Okay, they're using people's sons, daughters, husbands and wives, and a lot of these people are dying. Okay, a lot of these people are dying, and you don't hear about it like you did in the Vietnam days. You don't hear about people coming home in body bags, okay? But there's a lot of people coming home dead, okay? And so they don't show this on the nightly news, or they don't show this anywhere anymore. They keep it very well hidden. So what they're doing is they're using people, good people. Now some of these people go in there with pure motives. They go in there with the motives of fighting for their country and fighting for freedom and fighting for a right to remain free and all this stuff. But that's not what it's about. It's not about that anymore. It hasn't been about that for a long time. And in fact, even in World War II, the Rothschilds were involved in that situation. They funded both sides. They funded Hitler and they funded America. The Rothschilds and the big bucks and the people that are in these positions of power are using people and pitting one side against the other and funding both sides. So I honor those who fight, and I honor those who have enough balls to stand up and think that they are doing right for their country. But on the other hand, these people are not awake. There's a lot of soldiers and there's a lot of vets. Not a lot of vets. I would say a lot of vets are come to a realization the hard way after being there and realizing. And then there's some people in the army or some people in the armed forces that are predisposed to killing, and they just like that kind of shit, and they almost become like mercenaries. They think it's fun, okay? And then when they come out, those are the guys that go into groups like these mercenary groups like Blackwater, Blackwater, and some of these other groups. And so they really don't have too much of a conscience about things. So there's two kinds of people out there fighting. Now the point I'm trying to make here is if you're going to fight, okay, and this is kind of coming back to my original point about letting Trump do everything, letting Trump save us from tyranny or from the deep state. If these people had any sense, they would fight for this country, okay? But they would fight for this country in a different way. They would fight for this country right here on this land, because that's where the real problem is. The real problem is that we have these people in power, okay, that are behind the scenes. See, people are under the false assumption that people like Donald Trump or Obama or this senator and that senator, they're still involved in the two-party political system. Well, I got news for you. That was gone a long time ago. I don't know if it ever existed at a certain point. There is no more two-party system. There is no more Democrats and Republicans. There is no more conservatives and liberals. Not really. These people that are in office get in there for their own purposes. They're politicians. They're professional. I call them professional liars, because all they do when they get into office is not keep their promises they made when they were running for office. And Trump's the same way. And I don't want to hear anything about, oh, he's got a big plan and he's going to do this and the art of the deal. He wrote the book, The Art of the Deal. Well, I think I have reservations about that. The art of the deal sucks, okay, because it's just game playing. It's game playing and positioning for positioning yourself to win, okay? And win what? Well, win a legacy. Win a legacy for yourself as president, or so your name will go down in history as, oh, this guy did this, or he accomplished that. Problem is, there isn't going to be any history. There's not going to be any history. People think, oh, my name's going to go down in history. There won't be any at this rate. So I really get tired of, I like watching people like Roy Potter and Jake Morphonios. Now, Jake has a more realistic attitude, I must say. Kind of sees both sides of the same coin. And I highly recommend listening to his channel, Blackstone Intelligence, okay? Because he does lay things out in a systematic manner with clarity. And he doesn't take sides. He seems to be apolitical, at least in his videos, okay? So I suggest watching people like him and myself, because we try to see the bigger picture and we try to dig beyond what seems to be apparent, okay? So you don't have a two-party system anymore. You don't have, really it's the lines are blurred, as in Trump used to be a Democrat. McCain is really a camouflage Democrat. Yet he's a warmonger. Look at Trump's actions. Would you say that it would indicate that he wasn't a warmonger also, that he wasn't trying to go along with some kind of agenda that's going to give him a place in history? Or what is he looking for? Is he really looking for the best interests of people? Is he looking... See, these people are two different factions, and Jake Morphonios is really good in bringing this out. There's two different factions of the same evil cabal, really. I mean, or it's like two mafia organizations fighting each other. Now, is it apparent that one side is really piling on the other side right now? Yeah, I'll admit to that. I'll admit to that the supposed Democrats, okay, or the people in the Hillary camp are really piling on Trump, and they're trying to get him out of office. But it goes much deeper than that, okay? This is a power struggle where nobody wins. Not nobody in excuse me, nobody in America, none of the citizens are going to come out on top with this. It's just gonna go on in the same tape loop that has been going on for a long time. And it's not going to go anywhere, because you know what? You go on, you look at the nonsensical shit that's going on, like this latest development with North Korea and Trump. One minute he's going to have the peace summit, excuse me, and then the next minute he's not going to have the peace summit, and it's game playing. It's freaking game playing, okay? Is all it is. It's like a chess game, okay? It's like a poker game. Oh, let me call your bluff, or I'm really going to lie and say I have this when I don't. So they're playing each other. And you know what? While they're playing each other, we're sitting around suffering, okay? We're suffering. The normal American citizen, or the normal, even patriot, if you want to call it that, because there is a patriot movement. People that believe that the Constitution has some validity are sitting around suffering, and they're also sitting around following people on YouTube that are saying, Trump should do this, and I'm angry because he didn't, and he needs to do this, and that. They're putting their faith in an imperfect, really, when you get right down to it, compared to Putin, not very intelligent, not very cool-headed, not very low-key, not very warrior-like on a level that is important, okay? Instead of the art of the deal, okay, that Trump, and I doubt if he even wrote that book, really. I don't think he wrote that book. I think it was a ghostwriter that said, yeah, let's do this and make it look like you're a real wheeler dealer and we'll put this book out. And why would you put a book out that's going to telegraph to your enemies just exactly how you operate? Think about that one. I'm going to put a book out and I'm going to tell them exactly how I plan my strategy so that they'll know exactly what the hell I'm doing. That doesn't make too much sense to me. No, he should be reading Sun Tzu's Art of War. He should be reading books on strategy. He should be reading books on real warfare and real strategy, and he should be looking at past history, okay, and going from there, okay? So when I'm saying that people should not put their trust in any kind of politician, politics, many blood-sucking little many-legged creatures that don't give a shit about you or I. And the sooner that people wake up to that fact and quit thinking that they can't do anything themselves, the better off they're going to be. Now you look at some of the partisans, and I might even name this video Partisanship, or Where Are the Partisans? Or Where Are the Revolutionaries? Now, how would I describe myself? Well, I was thinking about it the other day. So I'm not political. I don't vote. I'm for the people. I'm freedom-loving. I'm against tyranny. I'm against destruction of the planet and natural order of things, being a native. I'm not for them killing the wolves and the grizzlies and all this stuff. I'm not for the horrific stuff that this country is doing in the name of democracy in other countries. Killing hundreds of thousands of innocent people, forming proxy terrorist groups in other countries, going after resources in other countries, turning one person, just the most lowest, vile things that people without principle or moral values do. So there's people like me and my loved ones, okay, that have principles, that see morality for what it is, that have good hearts, okay. So what would we be? What kind of people, what would we be called? We would be called, and I would call myself a revolutionary. I would call myself, and probably other people would call me that too, based on my belief system. They would call me a revolutionary in the same vein as like Che Guevara or any freedom fighter, okay, that is trying to overthrow an established order that is tyrannical, murderous, lawless, and immoral. So what would I call myself? Well, yes, I'd call myself a revolutionary. I have a revolutionary mindset. Well, does that mean that I'm ready to take up arms and do this or that? Well, if it came to that, yes. I mean, I would be out on the front lines fighting these psychopathic murderers that have taken over this country, okay? And would they call me a patriot for doing that? Well, some people might call me a patriot, but I might call myself a lover of freedom, okay? A person who is anti-slavery, okay, which the masses seem to be under right now. So when these people sit around and say things like, and Roy does, and bless his heart, you know, I think he has, Roy Potter has a good heart, okay, and but I don't know why he continues to have faith in something. And we all know, if you have any kind of brains at all, we all know that these people are disingenuous, and we all know that the people in power aren't really in power. Presidents aren't really in power. They don't have any power. They only have as much power as what the elite, the Rothschilds, the Zionists, and everybody else will allow them to have. And you know, eventually they're going to have to cave in somewhere or make concessions and make deals. And while they're making these deals, guess who's suffering? Innocent people are dying by the hundreds of thousands, millions. That's what's happening. So would I call myself a revolutionary? Well, yes, hell yes, I would. And would I call myself a warrior? Hell yes, I would. And would I call myself truthful? Because in order to be truthful with other people, you have to be truthful with yourself, okay? And you have to realize where your heart is and what you would like as far as living in this illusion that we call reality, okay? So, when these people watch shows and listen to people saying things like, what is Trump doing? I'll support Trump in his righteous endeavors, but when he does wrong, I'll call him on it. Well, this could go on and on and on forever, okay? So what people need to do, and I made a post on Roy Potter's channel today, because there's a lot of good people on there, and I'm saying don't sit there and wait for Trump to do things. Do it yourself. Do it yourself by any means that you can. Now, a lot of people don't have the balls to go out and grab their arms, okay, and get in the streets and get into an outright revolution, which is probably going to come at some point. They don't have the balls to do that, so they do have two arms. I mean, they do have, they do have two arms and two legs and two eyes and a mouth, okay? And those are very powerful. What do? You get out there with your two legs, and they have a brain too. They have a brain too, so organize. Get some kind of organization going. If you don't want to outright be a revolutionary in the sense of bearing arms, which the founding fathers said we should do, then do it another way. Get out in the street, organize against these people like Soros and who pay organizers, by the way. Get out in the millions, okay? Organize it so well, and there's enough people that are patriots that would follow this. Organize it so well that you get out on the street in millions and you protest with your mouth, okay? The tongue is sharper than a two-edged sword. Get out there and say your piece. Overwhelm public places. Overrun public places. Force their hand. Now, in order to do this, you have to have leadership, and you have to have somebody that has organizational skills. Now, are there people around like that? Well, yes, there are. So I don't understand why some of these people that are on YouTube, who could be leaders themselves, people like Roy or anybody, don't come from that point of view. Don't use their public persona, and they have a lot more followers than I do. Why don't they use their thousands of followers and do something beneficial to the people? Why don't they urge them on into a million-man patriot march? A million-man patriot march. And you know what? In order to make the point, you could be armed. You could have... most states allow you to carry open carry, not concealed, and even be armed with rifles or whatever to make a point. They don't even have to be loaded. There's all kinds of ways that people could get out there and march and protest. And if you got the proper organization of millions of people, patriots, that believe that the Constitution is being eroded, you could start writing campaigns. You could start boycotts of different corporations that are supporting the war machine. You could get out in the street, like I said, in millions, or at least hundreds of thousands, and not just one time, but do it over and over and over again. I see the people in Europe are more savvy about this than the ones in America. They know how to do it. And you can't, when you do something like that, it can't be ignored. When that many people come out, it can't be ignored. And the people that don't come out, let's say the people that are complacent, the people that are brainwashed by the propaganda, the American people that don't have a clue. Well, guess what? If you start coming out in the millions, if you start coming out in the street in the hundreds of thousands, they're going to get a clue. They're going to get a clue, because the first thing they're going to do is go, what's this? What's going on here? There's so many things that people could do as quote-unquote partisans. Now, remember during World War II, for example, there were partisans everywhere, and most of these partisans ranged in age from probably 18 years old on up to the very elderly were forming up, and they were carrying out a resistance against the Nazis. Okay, so you had the Italian partisans at one point, and you had the French underground. And these people formed up out of necessity. Why? Because the Nazis moved in and took away their freedoms and started lining people up against the wall and shooting them, torturing them, putting them in little torture facilities and making them give up information about other people. But guess what? They were strong enough, the French underground, and these partisans saved the day, okay? Because they fought until they were free. They fought until they were free. And that's what we need to do, okay? But see, if you do it later, it's going to be harder. If you do it later, it's going to be harder. It was harder for those people to form up after the Nazis moved in because they had to do it underground. They had to do it underground, and they had to be very careful about who they trusted, and it was a lot harder. But did they accomplish it? Well, yes, they did. But my point is, if you're going to do that, it should be done now. It shouldn't be done because the enemy's already here, basically. It would be like the Nazis are just starting to threaten France or threaten a certain place, and the people saw it ahead of time and formed up before the Nazis got in there and made it harder for them to form up. Well, we see the enemy very clearly, and the enemy is not on a foreign shore. It's not a foreign government. It's not a sovereign nation in another part of the world. It's this nation. And people here that are aware, like myself and others, and patriots and people that have just had it up to here with the bullshit. Because it really is bullshit. Having to live under a tyrannical system that makes slaves of us all makes it so that we can hardly exist from month to month or year to year because of the gouging of food prices and gas prices and inconsistencies in what you get as a wage compared to what the cost of living is. They're screwing us continually. And they want to make slaves out of us all. And the enemy, the wolf, is at the door. It's already at the door, people. And so the time for partisanship, the time to come together, all good people to come together and say enough is enough. Like in my last video, I said enough is enough. And if you look at my last video, I run down all the stuff that's going on around the world, and people have to get out of their complacency and quit relying, quit making heroes out of politicians that aren't heroes. They're just as evil, and they go to the privy, okay, just like you or I, okay. They're no different than you or I, only they think they are because they have all this capital behind them. They have billions and billions of dollars behind them. How do you think they got into office? And what about the other billionaires that are in this country? The people that supposedly care about others. Oh, they do their little charitable organizations. People like Bill Gates and Warren Buffett and even Trump, they have their little charitable things. Oh, we do this for... But think about it, people. When you have billions and billions and billions of dollars, and there's only 300 million, people in the United States? You have enough money, okay, to where you could take every person out of poverty. You could send out checks or put into the person's bank account enough money to get everybody that needs it, that really needs it, out of poverty. You could take all the homeless people off the streets. You could take all the homeless vets off the streets. You could build nice housing. You could build rehabilitation centers. if these billionaires, okay, got together and really cared about the people, now why isn't this happening? Well, because it's never going to happen. Or some people might say, why wouldn't Trump organize something like, are you kidding me? He's one of them. He's one of them. He's a billionaire. And he was bailed out one time by the Rothschilds. Okay, so people have to stop putting their faith in and their reliance on their future in jerks like these politicians that are out there that will never do anything. The senators are in office for life, no term limits. We're a bunch of peasants to them. We're laughable, okay, because we're so easily controlled. We're so easily controlled. And there is no cojones. People don't have the balls. And I don't know, European countries are much better about this because they've seen it. It's been on their shores. Terrorism, war, millions of lives being lost within their own borders, okay? So they're more savvy about the reality of things, okay? The reality of the harshness coming to their front door. But see, the harshness is at our front door here already. The wolf is at the door, only it's in sheep's clothing. So slowly it has infiltrated itself into our society and our way of living. And the enemy's already here. So it's time to start thinking about these things. And it's time for vets. Well, let's put it this way. It's time for the people in the armed forces that aren't vets yet, that are still fighting and still being sent here and there and everywhere, Somalia and Kenya and Syria and Libya, and spread all over the world, fighting for what? They have families here too. They're suffering too. So it's time for the armed force members, and I'm calling on all of them, to put down their arms in defense of corporate interests and elite murderers, and take up arms for the people of this country, not other countries. And it's up to each individual to educate themselves as to what's going on and not be misinformed. And fighting and killing in other countries, you're no better than an armed assassin. You're no better than a mercenary. You're no better than a mafia hitman. When you go to war and you go to other countries and subjugate these people, and you call them ragheads and the enemy, and it's always the gooks, or, like they did in World War II, you dehumanize other people, and you think it's fun, okay, or you think it's a game. While the people in this country are suffering, okay? I never went to war. I never could participate in that. Have I had association with the military? Well, in certain capacities, yes. And that's all I'll say about that. So that's how I know. I've had associations with the spec ops groups in different capacities, okay, as a contractor. But or a teacher. So I am able to see the inside, and I was able to see the mindset. So that's all I'll say about that. But here's the deal. People really have to wake up, and I've been saying this in my videos from day one, and quit relying on those out there that mean to do you harm. And that means everybody has to wake up. The vets have to wake up. The rank and file citizenry of the United States has to wake up. Members of the armed forces have to wake up and see that this country is pretty much doomed if you don't get out there and take some kind of action, like on the levels that I was talking about. You can't rely on Trump. You can't rely on the two-party system. That was gone a long time ago. That's just it's a facade. These people are lawless. They're lawless killers, and they're amongst us, okay? And they're slowly going to squeeze the life and poison us all with their GMOs and their chemtrails, their aerosol spraying of the skies, their electronic warfare, microwave warfare. It's all there right now. And they're also, as a last thing here, they're trying to mop up people that have firearms and people that have the right to bear arms, okay? They're pushing that agenda real hard. So when you see things like this, you can't wait around. And I urge people like Roy Potter and some of these other people, yes, I mean they're doing a good service, okay, just as I am by coming out here on this video and talking about truth. But it doesn't do any good to lose your temper, and it doesn't do any good to whine and wail about what Trump is doing or what he isn't doing. Because it ain't going to happen, people. To them, it's a game. To us, it's life. Okay? They're sitting in positions of very high power. Okay? They have billions of dollars. Trump is a rich, rich man. Most of these senators and congressmen are rich. Okay? They don't have to worry about health care. They don't have to worry about any of this stuff that the normal citizen has to worry about. So I think I'll leave it there today. I think that you people should think about these things. And if you like this video, pass it around. If there's anybody out there that watches some of these other channels or has connections or goes on their chat, say, hey, you know what? There's a guy named Roger Thunderhands that is over here, and he's speaking truth. And no, I'm not coming from a necessarily a military mentality. Like Mr. Potter was in the military, and he was also a cop, and I think he has misgivings about some of the stuff he did, and that's why he's doing it, which is good. But I'm not coming from a military mentality. I'm coming from a revolutionary mentality. And some of the world's best revolutionaries never were in the military. Okay. Because they see, and they have seen, how that's a way you sell your soul. Okay. If you're fighting, Fight for something that is righteous. Fight for something that is going to really help this country, this this environment that you're living in. Don't sacrifice your life on the altar of these Babylonian murderers. Okay, so I'm going to leave it there today. Something to think about. Pass this video around. Give it a like. If you like what I do, you can make a donation. The links are below. I'm on Patreon and PayPal, and whatever you feel in your heart that you want to do. But the main thing to me is that you listen to my words and that you spread the word. Obviously, I'm not going to become a millionaire, nor do I want to, by doing videos, okay? Ain't going to happen, baby. But you know what? There's some things that are more important than money. I'll leave it there today. This is Thunder. Adios.